Are you planning a trip to Stratford-upon-Avon? In this episode, I'm joined by Lisa from Go Cotswolds, who shares her insider tips on what to do, where to stay, and the best local spots to eat and drink. We also chat about why Stratford makes the perfect base for exploring the Cotswolds.
Welcome to the UK Travel Planning Podcast. Your host is the founder of the UK Travel Planning website, Tracy Collins. Each week, Tracy shares destination guides, travel tips and itinerary ideas, as well as interviews with a variety of guests who share their knowledge and experience of UK travel to help you plan your perfect UK vacation. Join us as we explore the UK from cosmopolitan cities to quaint villages, from historic castles to beautiful islands, and from the picturesque countryside to seaside towns.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the UK Travel Planner Podcast. Today I'm joined by a very familiar guest, Lisa from Go Cotswolds. This is actually Lisa's fourth time on the podcast, and it's always such a treat to have her back. Now in this episode we're focusing on Stratford-upon-Avon. Of course, it's known the world over as Shakespeare's birthplace, but Lisa is here to share her insider tips that go far beyond the obvious, from hidden corners and favourite local food spots to where to stay and how to make the most of your visit. We'll also talk about why Stratford makes such a brilliant base for exploring the Cotswolds. And don't forget, if you're inspired to book one of Lisa's tours, we have an exclusive discount for listeners. I'll share that at the end of the episode. So let's get started and welcome Lisa back. Hi Lisa, welcome back to the podcast.
Hello, nice to see you again.
It's always fantastic to have you on, and you've been on the podcast I think 3 times already. I think this is your 4th time, Lisa. I think you're the person that's been on the most on our podcast. But for those listeners who haven't listened to Lisa yet, and I don't know why you haven't, because they're great episodes, but if you haven't heard from Lisa before, Lisa is about to give you a little introduction about who she is and about her fantastic business, Go Cotswolds.
Yeah, hi, I'm Lisa Benjamin. I am one of the owners of Go Cotswolds, along with my husband Tom. Go Cotswolds is a guided tour company, so we provide fun, friendly, small group tours of the Cotswolds. We're based in Stratford-upon-Avon, which is the subject of our podcast today. And we also pick up people for our tours in Stratford-upon-Avon and also from Moreton in Marsh, which is a small town in the Cotswolds. We have several different tour itineraries to show people all around the beautiful Cotswolds, different parts of the Cotswolds, different places, different sort of themes, walking tours and secret Cotswolds. So yeah, we have lots of different tours, and we love showing people around this part of the world that we call home.
And you certainly do a wonderful job of it. I've been on quite a few of your tours and they are fantastic. And I will be linking to your tours in the show notes. So if you're listening and thinking, I really want to go on one of these tours with Go Cotswolds, don't worry, there will be a link in the show notes. But this episode, we're going to be focusing on Stratford-upon-Avon. So my mum doesn't live that far from Stratford, so that's also quite exciting to talk about that. But tell us why Stratford is such a fabulous place to visit.
I absolutely love Stratford. I have to confess, I'm not native to Stratford. I was born in Kent in the southeast of England, but I moved up here with my then boyfriend, my now husband, Tom, about 15 years ago. So I've lived here a fair long time. We actually live in a little town called Ulster, which is just 10 or 15 minutes drive from Stratford-upon-Avon. But yeah, visit Stratford-upon-Avon, almost every other day. and with our tours, we go there every single day. We know it very well. It's a beautiful riverside town in Middle England. It's very different vibe to London or big cities. It's got a very sort of small town feel to it, kind of a busy little town. It's the economy is, well, basically it's a tourist town. The tourism economy here is very strong because Stratford-upon-Avon, if you didn't know, is the birthplace of William Shakespeare, the famous playwright. So there's lots of connection to Stratford. We have the Royal Shakespeare Theatre here, Shakespeare's home, or several of his homes actually. There's the church where he was baptised and buried as well. So it's a big draw for tourists from all over the world to come and explore Stratford-upon-Avon and find out more about Shakespeare.
Absolutely. And if you are a Shakespeare fan, honestly, Stratford should be on your itinerary. It is definitely worth going to. And Anne Hathaway's house as well, which is also with his wife, it's also with visiting. And there's just so much. You can have a whole Shakespeare itinerary for when you visit Stratford. But what else is there to do and see in Stratford if you're going to go and visit?
Yeah, obviously the Shakespeare attractions are the biggest draw. That's probably the reason many people make a pilgrimage to Stratford. But if you're not interested in Shakespeare, and let's be honest, we all probably had enough of it when we were at school, of learning about all his plays and stuff, there is loads of other stuff to do. My favourite things to do in Stratford, my recommendations for visitors to Stratford, number one on my list would be do a Stratford Town Walk. This is a local guided tour company. They do sort of tours that take about 1.5 to 2 hours. Their guides are absolutely fantastic. There is not a thing about Stratford that these guys don't know. In fact, we as a Cotswolds tour company, our specialist subject is the Cotswolds. We don't generally do tours of Stratford because we just can't do tours of Stratford any better than Stratford Town Walk. They are absolutely brilliant folk. So it's a really good tip for visitors to come and do a Stratford Town Walk. You get to know the layout of the town. It's a very small town. You can easily walk around it. You get to learn about the history, the Tudor architecture, obviously about Shakespeare as well, and all the other bits and pieces of Shakespeare, of Stratford's history as well. So that's brilliant. As a riverside town, it's got a beautiful riverside area called the Waterside. So that's a lovely place to have a stroll and feed the ducks, feed the swans. You can take a little rowing boat out on the river, or you can take a cruise boat down the river as well, which is a lovely thing to do. I wanted to mention parkrun because I know that your daughter did parkrun when she came to Stratford last time. So for those that don't know about parkrun, it's this global phenomenon now where every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. in towns, villages, parks all around the world, there's this thing called parkrun, which is a 5K run or walk if you prefer. So Stratford has a really good parkrun. It's nice and flat. If you are a runner, or maybe you're not a great runner, it's a nice flat park run, so there's no hills, and it's beautiful because you get to run along the side of the river. You get to see you run past the Shakespeare Theatre, you run past the Holy Trinity Church where Shakespeare is born, was baptised and buried. So yeah, it's a really lovely park run to do.
Yeah, I think Dominique did do it when that was the one that she did when she was over last month. Actually, you're right. Yeah, that's a good call. I completely forgot about that. So there's lots to go. I would say, and a lot of people kind of say to us for Stratford, they're just going to go up for a day and then that's it. But I've tried to encourage people to stay in Stratford. There's such a lot to see and do, and it's got a really nice feel to it. Do you have any kind of hidden gems or kind of areas that you could recommend that aren't necessarily like obvious to people?
So when people come to Stratford, I'll go back a step. Pre-COVID, most of the visitors to Stratford, like the millions of visitors that come to Stratford every year, would just come for a couple of hours on a coach trip from London, which would also have taken them to Oxford and Windsor Castle and Stonehenge, and tried to cram everything in a day. And you'd spend maybe an hour or two in Stratford-upon-Avon. And on a tour like that, I mean, that's fine if that's what you want to do. On a tour like that, you're not going to see an awful lot and get the real vibe that Stratford has. So there's Henley Street is the main kind of touristy street. That's where the Shakespeare's birthplace is. You've got your Christmas decoration shop and the Beatrix Potter shop. Beatrix Potter's got nothing to do with Stratford. You've got a Harry Potter shop. Again, Harry Potter, nothing to do with Stratford. It's very a bit touristy trappy. And then you've got the Waterside area, which I mentioned is a lovely area to go to. But there's more to it than that. There's lots of little courtyards with little independent shops that you can explore. There's the Old Town area is just beautiful streets you can walk around with lots of really interesting buildings and architecture. There's lots of Tudor buildings. If you're a fan of Tudor architecture, then Stratford is definitely a must. My top tip for a lesser known hidden gem in Stratford-upon-Avon is Funny enough, it's the RSC, so the Royal Shakespeare Company Theatre. That in itself is not a hidden gem, that's world famous. But a hidden gem within the Shakespeare Theatre is they have a little museum, which is brilliant. And they also have a tower that you can go up and get a great view of the town. And both of those things, the museum and the tower, are free, which I think not a lot of people realise. So yeah, if you want a great view of Stratford from a bird's eye view, go up the tower. And there's the museum at the back, which at the moment, I don't know if the exhibition changes, but at the moment, it's based around the costumes that they use in the Shakespeare plays at the RSC. So, and it's fascinating. Like, I took my daughter there in the summer holidays and she loved it. So it's a really, really nice little museum and it's free.
Oh, that's perfect. And I've been up the tower as well. You do get great views over Stratford, so that's a perfect one. Now, if anybody's planning to go into Stratford and stay over, which is what we're encouraging people to do, so as well as taking your tours, which they can do from Stratford, which is so that's another reason to stay in Stratford. Where would you recommend the stay? Because I know there's quite a lot of good accommodation options in Stratford, aren't there?
Yeah, Stratford has got loads of accommodation, which is great. And it's got a good choice of accommodation as well. There's lots of different, you've got everything from a youth hostel up to fancy 5-star hotels. As we're a small family business, we like to sort of champion other small family independent businesses as well. So I always think that you get a really good, authentic experience if you use the local bed and breakfasts, the B&Bs. You get an authentic welcome, you get a warm welcome from the hosts, home cooked food, really good breakfasts, you get an interaction with local people as well, which you don't always get in chain hotels where sometimes there's not even anyone on the reception desk. It's all kind of automatic and very sterile, I think, sometimes. So yeah, there's some really great B&Bs in Stratford. Probably our favourite is Avonlea. That's the one we usually recommend. It's owned by a couple called Rob and Claire, who are just the most warm, friendly, fantastic hosts. There's also another one called Greenhaven and Ashgrove House as well. There are several, but those are the ones that we typically recommend to our guests, to our tour guests. There's a whole range of big chain hotels. So we've got a Crown Plaza, we have a Hotel Indigo. What else is there? There's the Arden Hotel is a big hotel, biggish hotel. It is part of a chain, but it's actually quite a small local chain. So there's only a few of the hotels in that chain in the local area. That's a really good one. They have a lovely restaurant there as well. One top tip I would say when you're choosing your hotel in Stratford is just beware of the actual location, especially if you haven't got a car, because there are some very lovely hotels, but they're kind of outlying hotels. They're kind of maybe a mile or 2 or 3 miles outside of Stratford-upon-Avon. So if you don't have a car, you might find yourself relying on taxis quite a lot if you stay in one of those hotels.
And I'm going to say as well, the traffic getting into Stratford, especially if you're going in for when it's a school run time, can be quite busy.
Yes, Stratford is, one thing that is not so great about Stratford-upon-Avon is the traffic. It's a very busy little town. It's a bit of a through route as well for people who work and commute to Birmingham and sort of other places around. So yeah, it does get very busy. So if you are going to drive into Stratford, then leave plenty of time for your journey, leave plenty of time to find a parking space, get used to sitting at red traffic lights because there's lots of them.
That's true. Now let's talk about food. We always like to talk about food. And I was thinking about this where we always kind of go to the same place when we go to Stratford. And for the life of me, I swear this is my age, so apologies. But I'm trying to think the name of it. Doug I can hear Doug now going, Tracy, it's this. But it's the 1940s themed cafe that they've got at Stratford. And I really it's just so nice. It's just so lovely.
It's called the 40s, so it's it does what it says on the tin. It's that's a really nice little cafe, 1940s themed. All the staff wear like 1940s dress, and it's all 1940s decor. So that's a nice place for an afternoon tea or something like that. Yeah, definitely. In terms of other sort of afternoon tea places, sadly there was a really great Stratford Institution tea room, but it's since closed down, unfortunately. I think it's now a vape shop, which is a bit sad. But the other places you could go, Boston Tea Party, it is a chain, but I like it. It does really good food. And it is a local chain. It's quite a nice ethical chain as well. They're all about sustainability and things like that. So I do recommend Boston Tea Party, even though it is a chain, but I quite like it. It's also got a really good location right at the top of Henley Street, which again is that main tourist street, but because it is a chain, it doesn't have the tourist trap prices, so it's not so bad. There's also I would say the teas and the food is probably on the average side, but there's a bakery called Hobson's Bakery, and I say it's kind of average, but the good thing about this particular bakery is that around about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they put a stall out the front and sell off all their cake for really cheap. So that's really nice. If you're wandering up and down Henley Street around sort of mid-afternoon and you fancy a bit of cake, then you can get a cheap slice of cake from outside Hobson's Bakery. So that's a good one.
That's cool. What about pubs? Because I know we're going to ask about what pubs to go to.
Yeah, there's quite a few pubs in Stratford. Some are better than others. Again, there's a few chain pubs. You've got your ubiquitous Wetherspoons if you want a cheap pint. Not necessarily recommended. It is actually a beautiful building. The Wetherspoons in Stratford, it's called the Golden Bee, and it is in a gorgeous old Tudor building. So even if you only look at it from the outside, yeah,
aren't they all? Yeah,
I wouldn't recommend necessarily going in, but yeah, it's nice to look at.
Yeah, they always seem to be in lovely buildings. That's the thing about Wetherspoons.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose that's one thing they do quite well. Other pubs to recommend, there's one called the One Elm, which is really nice. And they do a great Sunday roast as well, if you're looking for a Sunday roast. Again, not necessarily in terms of vibe, but more in terms of location. There's a pub called Cox's Yard, which in the summer has, it's got a terrace that is directly on the river. So that's a really nice place to go. There's a fairly new-ish, or I don't know, it's been there a couple of years, a bar called Cafe Cocktail, which is great for anyone that loves cocktails, but also they do a nice selection of craft beer and things like that. And there is a little micro pub called Yabard, which is
of course,
yeah, which is good for the craft beer lovers as well. In terms of sort of where you go for an evening meal, that you're absolutely spoilt for choice. There are some chains, your bog standard average chains. They seem to go bust quite regularly and open under new names. But, you've got places like, I don't know, I can't even remember which ones are still open. Bella Italia, it might have closed now, but it's places like that which are chains. But the more independent restaurants, there's a road called Sheep Street in Stratford, which has really good restaurants. We had our staff Christmas party actually at one called the Vintner, which was absolutely brilliant. It was really lovely food. Also along that street, you've got Loxley's, the Opposition. There's another one called the Woodsman. It's actually the restaurant inside the Hotel Indigo. But if you are a meat lover, it's excellent. It's called. They have a focus on sort of locally sourced, a lot of game and sort of wild caught food and things like that. So the Woodsman is excellent.
I have heard that. I will say, Lisa, I have heard that. So if you're at the Hotel Indigo in Stratford, Lisa and I would love an invite to come and try some of your food.
Yes, absolutely. I have eaten there once a long time ago, but yeah, it was excellent. The other one that I was going to mention was there's a restaurant called the Boathouse for two reasons. Again, it's got a nice garden on the river where you can sit and watch the river go by, watch the marina and the boats go by. But it's also a very good restaurant as well, and it's owned by a guy called Nick Robury. He's the owner and head chef. And if you're a fan of Clarkson's Farm, which I know many people are, the TV show, you will recognise Nick because he was the guy who was brought in by Jeremy Clarkson to help set up the kitchen at the Farmer's Dog pub. So he actually owns the Stratford Boathouse restaurant in Stratford. Oh, wow. So yeah, so good.
So, and do you need to book ahead for? I'm guessing for Sunday lunch. I always say recommend that because we Brits love going out for Sunday lunch. But another restaurants, would you recommend booking?
Yes, I mean it doesn't hurt to make reservations. If you're not fussy about where to go, you'll always find somewhere to eat. A lot of the restaurants, particularly the ones on Sheep Street, will do like pre-theatre menus as well. So you can always usually get in for early dinner if you want to go to a show at the theatre. Yeah, it's always a good idea to book. But yeah, if you're not fussy, you'll find somewhere to eat without a reservation.
Perfect. Now, just thinking about how to get around. And now I remember, this is how I was thinking about this the other day. I can remember the time before the main street in Stratford wasn't pedestrianised, which it is now. And I remember years ago taking some friends who'd come over from Botswana actually on the hop-on, hop-off bus around Stratford, because of it's places like getting to Anne Hathaway's cottage a little bit further out of Stratford. But how would you say is the best way to get around Stratford itself? And then if you want to go and see some of those places are a little bit further afield.
Yeah, you definitely don't need a car in Stratford itself. As I said, traffic is a nightmare. So you definitely don't really want to be driving around to see different things around the town. And you don't need to, because it's a very small town. As the main Henley Street is pedestrianised. There's the whole waterside area, which is lovely to walk around. And yeah, you can explore on foot is definitely the best way to get around. Yeah, as you said, a couple of the attractions that people like to see are a little bit further out of town. So there is the city sightseeing, hop on, hop bus, the big red buses that you get in pretty much every tourist city in the world. There is one of those. There are local buses as well. There is a train station, so you can get to other nearby places like Warwick very easily, Leamington Spa, Coventry, if you want to go to Coventry. I don't know why you want to go to Coventry, but I actually like Coventry. I lived there for a little while at university. So yeah, it's very interesting. But so there is a train station, so you can get to Birmingham very easily if you want to visit Birmingham, which I recommend as well. But yeah, in Stratford itself, walking is always the best.
So that's a lovely segue, Lisa, into your tours, because obviously Stratford is a great place to base yourself if you're going to go further afield, i.e. into the Cotswolds. So tell us a little bit about your tours. I know that we've in our Facebook group, we're always getting people saying how amazing, how much they loved going on your tours. So tell us what makes your tours so special before we'll go into a bit more detail about the different tours that you offer. But what is so special about going out with you guys?
Well, I think the main thing for us is that we are local. We are based in Stratford-upon-Avon. My husband, Tom, who founded the company, was born, in a village just outside Stratford. He went to King Edward VI. I can't remember what it's called now. He went to the same school that Shakespeare went to, and not at the same time as Shakespeare. He was. So we're local people. We live and breathe Stratford-upon-Avon, and all of our guides that we use as well are local to Stratford and the Cotswolds. So that is a big USP, unique selling point for us. We're not generic tour guides that have just learnt a script, on a tour bus up from London. We're local people. We know this area. We've lived here. We've worked here. In my husband's case, he's played cricket here for his whole life, and that's kind of how he got to know the Cotswolds as well. So one thing that people, I think it's not really that well known that Stratford-upon-Avon is really, really close to the Cotswolds. I think a lot of people use Bath or Oxford or Cheltenham even as a base to access the Cotswolds. But Stratford is very, very close. It takes about 15-20 minutes to get from Stratford to the official kind of part of the Cotswolds. So it's a great base. If you want to stay in Stratford-upon-Avon, you can have your Stratford experience. You can have all the Shakespeare you can. You can. You can also visit the Cotswolds as well in one short break. So that was really the whole idea behind the business that my husband Tom set up. He wanted to connect the tourist visitors to Stratford with tourist visitors in the Cotswolds, and there was no easy way for anybody to get between the two. There is a bus from Stratford to Moreton in Marsh, but it goes about 3 times a day. It's not very regular. There's no direct train line between the two. But now there is, or there has been for the last 11 years, a fun, friendly guided tour company that can take you from the place together.
Absolutely. And so what are your sort of favourite tours that people take? I know you offer quite a few, but what are the kind of the best sellers, the favourites for people?
So by far and away, our most popular tour is our Cotswolds in a Day tour, which is kind of like, well, we developed this tour to give people a flavour of what the Cotswolds is all about. If you're short on time, if you've only got one day to spend in the Cotswolds, then this tour will give you, it will check off some of the most popular places like Bibury, Bourton-on-the-Water, Stow-on-the-Wold. And we also throw in some sort of hidden gems, some smaller villages, some beautiful viewpoints, and take the scenic routes through the Cotswolds. So on the whole, taking that Cotswolds in a Day tour, by the end of the day, you'll have a really great idea of what the Cotswolds is all about and how gorgeous it is. So that is by far and away our most popular tour. I'm just going to throw in there a little brag. That particular tour has recently been awarded the Best of the Best award by TripAdvisor. So that particular tour is among the top 1% of all TripAdvisor listings in the world. So we're pretty chuffed about that. Yeah. And it's also on a top 20 list of the best tours in Britain as well. So yeah, really chuffed about that.
Well deserved, Lisa, honestly. Yeah, no, well deserved. That's fantastic. And you'll do a secret Cotswolds tour as well. So if you've done the Cotswolds in a Day, and I would highly recommend following it up with a secret Cotswolds tour.
Absolutely, yeah. So we decided to launch a new tour. We kind of didn't want to put all our eggs in one basket. So a few years ago, we just started doing the secret Cotswolds tour. And the idea behind this one was to show people a sort of a slightly different side of the Cotswolds that you wouldn't necessarily see. On the Cotswolds in a Day tour that I mentioned earlier, some of the popular villages, particularly Bibury, Bourton-on-the-Water, are now so incredibly popular that some people find them a little bit Marmite. They either love it or hate it. Places like Bibury, Bourton-on-the-Water are getting very, very busy. Which kind of takes a little bit away sometimes from the vibe that you expect to get in a rural countryside area, which is that it's quiet and peaceful, not hordes of tourists everywhere. So we decided to launch a secret Cotswolds tour, which takes people off the beaten track a little bit. It's a bit of a tough sell, to be honest, because people don't necessarily want to go to places that they've never heard of. But if you're willing to take the risk, then I'd highly recommend it, because the villages that we go to on this tour are just as beautiful as some of the ones that are more well known, but they're just less well known. So you'll have the place to yourselves. You can get photographs of these gorgeous cottages and beautiful streets with no other tourists in them. And all of the villages in the Cotswolds have such amazing history and great communities and wonderful independent shops and restaurants and cafes that you can visit. But in those sort of lesser known villages, it's much more peaceful and quiet. And it is more the vibe that I think people expect from the rural countryside area of the Cotswolds. So, yeah. And we also, on the secret Cotswolds tour, visit a stone circle. Now, obviously, we don't go down all the way down to Stonehenge. But this stone circle is a little Cotswold stone circle, which is thought to be actually older than Stonehenge, which is kind of cool. And that's got some really fun myths and legends associated with it as well. So our guests find that quite interesting.
Definitely. Now, are you still doing? I know last year I did the tour from Stratford down to Bath to the Christmas market. Will you be doing that again this year?
Yep, absolutely. We have got our Bath and Southern Cotswolds tour as well. So on this one, we're connecting up Stratford and Moreton and Marsh, our pickup points, with the city of Bath, which is it's a longer drive. There's a bit more travelling involved in this tour because the distances are a bit greater. But it's wonderful. And if you want to check off the Cotswolds, if you really want to like conquer the Cotswolds and see the whole region, because it is a big area. It's 800 square miles, 2,000 square kilometres of the Cotswolds. So the Cotswolds in a Day tour, the secret Cotswolds tour, they both kind of focus on the northern part of the Cotswolds. But if you really want to see the whole Cotswolds, you've got to visit the south as well. And the city of Bath is a must-see anyway. It's just beautiful. Our Bath and Southern Cotswolds tour goes to Castle Combe, which is, again, one of those really popular villages that does get quite busy, but it is lovely. It's absolutely gorgeous. And we also go to Tetbury, which is it was kind of new to me this when we launched this tour. I'd never been to Tetbury before, but now I've been. I absolutely love it. It's fabulous. So many independent shops. It's known as the antiques capital of the Cotswolds. So there's loads and loads of antique shops, thrift shops, gift shops. There's also the Highgrove shop, which is the shop of the royal residence of King Charles. So you can go and buy some produce from King Charles's garden if you wish.
Oh, very nice, very nice. And now, is there what sort of times of year do your tours run? Are they just about every day except Christmas Day and Boxing Day, or?
Pretty much,
I'm sure you don't. I'm sure you don't run on Christmas Day and Boxing Day, but
no, we do give ourselves some time off. We're closed Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. But apart from that, we have tours pretty much every day of the week. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, thinking about Stratford again, kind of swinging back to Stratford, is there a time of year that you would kind of recommend people go to Stratford, or other particular events? Now, I'm thinking Christmas market. That's the first thing that came to my mind. But are there kind of particular events or times of year you'd say that are great to go to Stratford, or other times you go, actually, maybe a little bit too busy?
Yeah, I think like any touristy town, it gets really, really busy in the summer, in July and August when the schools are off. So if you want to avoid crowds, then that's probably the time to avoid. But otherwise, because it's a small town rather than a countryside region, it's just a really nice place to go for like a city break. It's not a city, it's not as big as a city, but it is a nice place to go for like a weekend break at any time of year. And there's always stuff going on. Even if there's no sort of organised events happening, there's always attractions to visit. You can go to the theatre and things like that. But there are definitely times of the year which are really fun, Christmas being one of them, as you said. So Stratford-upon-Avon has some of the best Christmas lights in the country, and that doesn't come from me as a local. That came from we actually spoke to one of the guys who organises the Christmas lights quite recently, and it is just a fact that Stratford-upon-Avon has some of the best Christmas lights in the country. So it's definitely worth visiting around Christmas time. There's also a really good Christmas market, which takes place on a couple of weekends in December. There's food festivals. In fact, we had the Stratford Food Festival just last weekend, so that was brilliant. That's always really good fun. They have a motoring festival with all sorts of classic cars up and down the streets. There's a beer festival at Stratford Racecourse nearby. A good one for the kids is we have this thing called the Mop Fair. So it's some sort of old ancient tradition where back in the day, if you were an employer and you needed staff for your estate, then you would go to the Mop Fair to find your staff. And the people that wanted work would hold a tool to represent their profession. So if you're a builder, you might hold a trowel. But if you were unskilled, you would hold a mop. So if you just needed some general labour for your country estate or for your family household, then you would go and pick people that wielding mops to come and work for you. And that kind of became an annual tradition. It was like an annual fair where you would go and choose your staff. And now it's a fun fair. So it still happens that we kind of preserve that date, preserve that occasion, but it's a fun fair. And then 2 weeks after the Mop Fair, there's the Runaway Mop Fair. So back in the day, if your staff decided that they didn't want to work for you after you employed them, then you would go to the Runaway Mop Fair to go and pick some more stuff. So we have a fun fair, and then 2 weeks later, another fun fair comes back again. So that's quite fun.
Oh, that's really fun, and that's just how British traditions continue, doesn't it? I mean, we still have the name continues. Obviously, people aren't going to necessarily look for staff anymore, but the fact that that still lives on is absolutely fantastic. Now, if anybody's planning to visit Stratford for the first time, what would be the number one tip that you would share with them, Lisa?
I've already talked about it really, but the Stratford Town Walk is, I think, if you've just arrived in Stratford, you've never been before, join the Stratford Town Walk. It's an hour and a half to 2 hours long with fantastic, really friendly, amazingly knowledgeable guides. And you get to walk around the town. So you get a feel for how the town is laid out. find your way around, you learn a little bit about history, and then you can go off and explore further if you wanted to. So that's a really good tip. There are some, there's a Shakespeare Explorer Pass. So if you do want to go to some of the Shakespeare themed attractions, there is a Shakespeare Explorer Pass where you can get sort of discounted entry or free entry to certain places. So that's worth looking into. So there'll be my 2 top tips. Sorry, you asked for 1. I gave you 2.
Oh, it's all right. People quite often can't stick to one, so it's not a problem. Now, where can our listeners find you to book a tour, Lisa?
Oh, we'd love for you to come and join a tour. So you can find us on the internet on www.gocotswolds.co.uk. We're also on Facebook and Instagram and all those social media channels. And you can book a tour directly on our website. We love it if you book direct on our website. We do list on Viator and Get Your Guide and places like that, but they charge us lots of commission. So we'd love it if you book direct with us. That'd be great. And if you do book direct with us, you can use the UK Trav Plan discount code and get 5% off.
Yeah, absolutely. So book direct, use our code and book direct, support both our business and Lisa's. We are both kind of dedicated to what we do and kind of local, as it were. I'm kind of local to the whole of the UK, it feels like. And obviously Lisa and her husband Tom have done a sterling job, absolutely sterling job in building up just a phenomenal tour company. So I mean, it is you guys are always winning awards. I'm always seeing awards and like how brilliant you guys are. So congratulations, honestly. And if you're listening, seriously, go on, book a tour with Lisa and Tom's Go Cotswolds company.
Thank you, Tracy.
No, it's all right. And thank you so much, Lisa, for joining me again. 4th time. I'll have to think of what you can come on for the 5th time, because I'm sure you'll be on again.
I'm going to run out of things to talk about soon.
Well, you know what we'll do? We'll decide what we could do is we can give questions out on the Facebook group and say, right, Lisa's going to come on, give us some questions about visiting the Cotswolds and going out with Go Cotswolds, and we're going to take from that. So if you're listening to this podcast and you think, I have some questions for Lisa, you can go onto the show notes and we have you can click a link and you can leave a message, a voice message for myself. And if I get one through, I'll send it through to Lisa as well, and we can reply to you. So if you've got a question, go through SpeakPipe, through the show notes and leave us a message. So we'll be able to reply. So that'd be cool.
That'd be amazing. Great.
Yeah. Anyway, so thanks again, Lisa. It's been great to chat to you as always.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the UK Travel Planning Podcast. As always, show notes can be found at uktravelplanning.com. If you've enjoyed the show, why not leave us feedback via text or a review on your favourite podcast app? We love to hear from you, and you never know, you may receive a shout out in a future episode. But as always, that just leaves me to say, until next week, happy UK travel planning.